We's gonna stomp the universe flat and kill anything that fights back. We're the orcs and was made to fight and to win. That voice really hurts my throat. This is Spruce and Studs, and welcome on into this review video. And today we are going to be reviewing the Ork MegaKnob with the dual kill saws. Again, I am very excited to dive into this review because, well, no other action figure manufacturers have actually delved into that much Xenos. I'm glad that McFarlane has actually made another Xenos action figure so that we can review. So I was actually quite surprised with this one, mainly because of the sheer size of it. I thought that the Ork was going to be roughly the similar size as just like a Space Marine or a Sister of Battle, which is like almost like 7 inches tall roughly. But I was pretty shocked when it came into a larger box, which would actually explain the larger price point, because I think this action figure cost around $40, whereas your regular McFarlane action figures cost about $20 for a Marine or any kind of other ones such as the Tyranids. So without further ado, let's jump into the review. All right. Obviously, in front of you, you have the Ork MegaKnob that is currently sealed inside of his very, very large box. So let's get to the unboxing. Let's pull this guy out. Wow, this guy's very sizable. So obviously, over here, we're going to be taking a look at the backpack and the standard that is on it. Now, I don't know exactly what particular clan this Ork is supposed to be in, but either way, you people on the YouTubes know better than I am, so please let me know in the comments section if this Ork actually belongs in a certain clan. But regardless, we are looking at the backpack, and the backpack obviously has a ton of Orky iconography, and basically, I love how the Ork stuff is just completely janky looking and all hodgepodged and mishmashed together. But you know what? They make it work, and they make it work well for them, which is exactly the Ork mantra. So looking at the painting on the standard, it looks like the painting is fairly decent. You got a little bit overspray from the red onto the black of the standard, but it is very minor, and I'm pretty sure if you just look at this from a distance, you will not be able to see it. And then with the backpack itself, obviously, as this is a McFarlane action figure, there really isn't that much detail to the backpack, as in there's not that much painting detail, I'm sorry. With regards to the detail on the backpack itself, yes, there is a crap ton of detail with all these nicks and scrapes, and as well as dents, but that's exactly what you expect with an Ork. So if you have missprays and stuff, you could just say that it's completely Orky and it's meant to be that way. This part of the backpack to me is a little bland. I think that a little bit shading in these recesses over here could have went a long way. And then looking at the jaw of the particular action figure, you do have some mispaints over here. But again, I'm going to say that with all this stuff and all these dings, it's just Ork stuff. So this actually does have a lot of detail, in my opinion, with regards to the paint. You have some weathering and dry brushing that goes along here, which I'm not used to seeing, especially most of the time I review Marines. So this is a nice breath of fresh air to me, that you have this kind of dark gray color and then a silverish dry brush that is put on there. So I really like the detail, and it's a nice departure from the blandness of a Space Marine. So moving on to the Orky details, and I will have to let you know that this figure itself is really heavy. Let's take a look at the painting job over here. So looking at the head, there actually is quite a lot of detail on this head that I really like. You can see the Ork teeth. There is a bunch of shading that's going on, and it's uneven over here, as it should be, because, well, it's an Ork. And the mouth in itself has a very cool glossy tone that's inside, so I'm sure they probably put like a gloss coat inside. And then you have these, I guess, stitches up here, which gives the Ork a ton of character, which I totally dig. So actually, when you look at this action figure, I'll have to say that weirdly enough, the face does not really match the rest of the body, because on the rest of the body, which I'll get to in a second, you can see a ton of shading and a lot of texturizing over here. So I think a little bit of a miss in my opinion. McFarlane could have done a little bit of shading here. It would have went a long way to make the face pop out a lot more than it is right now. But I actually do like this action figure. It's really cool, and it's 100% Orky. And then let's take a look at the kill saws. The kill saws is certifiably huge and clumsy and clunky looking, just like how a orc is supposed to be. So if you look at the painting here, I do really like all the haphazard kind of silver dry brushing that I'm going to assume that was put on here. Because again, this haphazard look really fits in with the whole entire look of what the orcs are supposed to be. So kudos to McFarlane, because I like this a lot. And then if you look over here on the other side, it is much of the same thing. But if you, again, there are some oversprays of the gray onto the red. We're just going to attribute this to orky clumsiness, so it fits really well. And there's a lot more detail that, and a lot more color that goes in behind this compared to the Space Marine, because usually a Space Marine would be just a bland kind of gray look, but this has that silver dry brushing. And then here you have this bronze kind of discarded metal look, which is really cool. And moving on to the torso, it is pretty much the same, where you have that same gray kind of look with the messy dry brushing. Then moving on to the legs themselves, this is actually a really cool touch over here. There is a large amount of texture, as you can hopefully see. And then down here you have the knees as well as the feet. It looks like there's a ton of battle damage over here. And then let's flip around and take a look at the back and as well as the arms. The naked skin has a bunch of other things that are going on. So what you see here is more like highlights rather than shade. I wish that maybe McFarlane would have been able to put the highlights on the face, because the face actually looks a little bit out of place compared to the shoulders compared to the face. This looks a little bit out of place, and looks like there are some painting oversprays here. All right, so let's fully kit out this orc with what he is supposed to have. So let's put on the backpack. The backpack just has this kind of peg and hold kind of mechanism, if you even want to call it a mechanism. You can just fit it in exactly right here. Voila, he has his backpack, and this is what he looks like. And then with the jaw part, there is a slot over here that you need to put this in. You have to kind of stretch this jaw out to fit, because it naturally kind of pushes itself in. So putting on that jaw piece really irritated me. It took a lot of finagling to get that thing to fit. There it is, the complete action figure. Now let's move on to the articulation. This shoulder socket should have 360-degree rotation, as you can see over here. And then the elbow, let's see how much that we can articulate this. So it looks like this elbow is limited to almost a less than, I would probably say like 45-degree angle. It is limited by this little pin over here that stops it from going farther. And I would have to say that manipulating this is a little bit hard, in my opinion. And then this part here probably rotates 360 degrees. And you can see here, you know what? It wasn't supposed to rotate. And I'm glad I actually caught this on film. So when you rotate it like that, it just completely falls apart. So you can easily attach this thing back on. And the shoulder part goes out probably roughly a little bit less than 90 degrees. So you're able to get a little posability, a big orc hug like this. Rah! We have the torso that should have 360-degree rotation. This is very clunky, to be honest. This is a very large action figure, and there's kind of like a ratchet type mechanism that you can feel down here. So let's see the articulation with the legs. So with the legs, this is the maximum range of motion down, and then when you kick it out, it is very limited to what it can possibly do, which kind of makes sense because this MegaKnob armor is really clunky too. So in terms of the knee, you can rotate the knee this far back and then kick it out that far. So this is almost like a roughly 90-degree angle that you can rotate this at. So that's the review. Let me wrap this up with my final thoughts. So what do I think about this orc over here? Well, I think that pictures actually do not do this justice, because when I saw these orcs online, I wasn't very impressed with how it really looked. It just looked kind of bland and out of place. But when I'm actually handling this live, this looks legitimately like a orc and looks like a humongous orc in that manner. And this thing is certifiably chunky, and I really like how McFarlane 100% knocked it out of the ballpark. The paintwork matches perfectly with how the orcs are, so there's literally no complaints for me when it comes to mispainting, because I think in orc culture, there's no such thing as mispainting. This is how it's supposed to be. Pictures really do not do this action figure justice. You just need to put this right in front of you for you to get the full orky effect, I suppose. So, is this $40 worth it? Would I recommend you to buy it? Sure, why not? I think that if you're an orc fan, I think that the $40 actually is really worth it. Everything about this action figure just screams, "Wah!" So this is Brews and Studs, and I hope that you enjoyed this review video. There are going to be a lot more review videos coming down the pipeline, so look forward to those. And as usual, I will see you all in the next one.